The Pod Bay Door, a Las Vegas podcast.
The rules here are that you have to wear a mask at the pool. Once you're in the pool, I don't know, why don't you make him wear a snorkel? That's what I'm saying. Wear a snorkel in the pool, goddammit.
You know, I'm going to say something right now that I have never said. And we've had our problems here in Las Vegas. But right now, Las Vegas is a terrible place. So I was remembering back to working at the Venetian concierge desk.
Oh, God.
We haven't talked about that in a while. I remember summers.
Yeah.
Now, for us, you know, we were...
Fanny pack season.
Fanny pack season.
Yep.
For us, we were spoiled. We weren't digging a ditch. Nowadays, honestly, when people say you could be digging a ditch, I actually would prefer that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You get exercise, you're outside.
Yeah, and the dirt doesn't yell at you.
Yeah, exactly. Or want anything. But we were in a beautiful building, and it was cool, and we had food.
You had no idea what time it was.
And, yeah, right. Exactly.
That was interminable, right? That was all the, oh my God, when's this day going to end?
Right. But we, at the beginning of our concierge career, we were stationed near the front doors.
Yes.
And we would, I don't know if you remember, but I remember very clearly, having to help deal with people that were overheated.
Yeah.
I had no less than, I would say, probably 6 or 7 people that passed out completely.
Wow.
In front of the desk. Yeah. And old and young, but they were all not from here or Arizona for that matter.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you know, because they don't realize also, it's kind of like, it's ironic in some ways that, you know, that here we are in the desert and it's a mirage, quite literally,
Yep.
of how close, you know, oh, hey, that hotel it's just the next one down on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to take you 15 minutes to walk there. In the heat, and it's dry, and you dehydrate and you don't realize it, and then you go inside and they would ask where the water fountain was. Well, it was the hell and back, right? Because you had to go through the casino and make a left turn here. And then they started having when they moved our desk, and we were near the guest services, which is the bell desk.
Yes.
In any other hotel, it was the bell desk. And in the back area, what they called baggage world, right, where they took the bags, is they had a big garbage can full of ice and bottled water.
Yes.
And give them a bottle of water. I mean, what's it cost them? A nickel or whatever it is. And that was supposed to be for us or for the bellman and the valet guys, because they're standing out there in it. But give it to the guest, and because they're going to pass out. You're going to have to call the one of the security guys to come up with his blue rubber gloves on. And
right. I had there were 2 instances where I was called upon to help the staff that was helping the individuals that had passed out. One person made it into the building and sat down on we had in front of the desk at the Venetian, if you haven't been there, that we're caddy corner to the front door. On the other side of that corner, the caddy, is the front desk, and between us is a sort of an atrium area, rotunda, that had a fountain that I believe was called the Oculus, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
It wasn't a running fountain. It was a water based thing. You would toss coins in.
Yeah. People puked in it too, didn't they? A couple times.
People threw up in it. People stole the money. Yeah. Love humans. But the person made it in, sat on the edge of the little pool there in front of the Oculus, and fell in.
Oh God, is that right?
Out.
Wow.
And I remember I was working with one of the young ladies there. I can't remember who it was right now. But it was shocking because I was like, uh-oh, you realize, oh, that's not right. You look up and you're like, splash.
Yeah.
And I ran over there, and security ran over. And I sort of backed away, and they had me call the med techs that were on duty, and then at least once where I was involved, and way more, I'm sure, they were at the front of the Venetian, going over the bridge, where the facade of the Doge Palace is, the big white part on Las Vegas Boulevard, and fell under the water there. Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's a pretty far drop.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know exactly from where they fell, but
gray water too.
It's gray water.
I think of that. I think of Game of Thrones with the grayscale.
Right.
Well,
I don't know if you know, but Lake Las Vegas, which is of course where Celine Dion used to live. Maybe she still lives there. But beautiful place, Lake Las Vegas.
Yeah, nothing there.
Yeah, and they have this flowing water and everything else. Well, I found out that's gray water.
Oh, is that right? The whole lake?
The whole thing, all the way down to the wetlands here, and we have a Las Vegas wetlands. All the way down is gray water from Lake Las Vegas.
Oh,
yes.
Is that why nobody swims in it?
Oh, yes. That among other things, yes. So yuck. But now, do you remember being called to duty for anything heat related? You remember anything at all?
I'm trying to think. No, I don't remember anything heat related. When I was there, the issue we had. I remember one year was the terrible flood we had from a thunderstorms, and if you remember, they had tried to skimp on money, I guess, and they did not treat the concrete in the parking lot. And when it had rained like that so much, the water had then started to seep down to the car on the cars, right? Just because it would run off. Well, it dripped all of that. Apparently there was lime in it or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
lime.
it fell on my car.
And on the car, and it stained like hundreds of cars and ruined the paint job.
Yeah. I quickly rubbed it down with vinegar. And it worked. But I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was awful.
That I remember. Now I know that what I heard about for example, today's temperature, it's supposed to be 111 today, 113 tomorrow, this being the weekend. It's the hottest temperatures in 2 years.
Yes.
So last year was, I guess, a little milder. I kind of thought, I remember, I guess 2 years ago we did hit 118.
Yeah.
Or 17 or something like that. And once you get up to 110, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Now, I know our listeners are going to, if they already haven't stopped listening to us, they're going to make some decisions. I'm going to say something right now that I have never said. And we've had our problems here in Las Vegas. But right now, Las Vegas is a terrible place. It's just, we're at the height of summer. Yeah. I mean, we're in the teens.
Yeah, and if you're more accustomed to Celsius, it's like 44 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
43, something like that, 42 to 44.
Yeah. We have extreme heat.
Yeah.
And for some, the unhealthy and the elderly,
and
dangerous heat.
And recently we've had a lot of wind.
A terrible wind.
And when you get heat and wind, it's just, that's what's, I don't mind the heat.
Yeah.
I don't like the wind, but if it's 90 degrees and windy, it's not too bad.
I've always said that living in Las Vegas is like standing on a skillet with a hairdryer in your face.
Yep. But when it gets windy like this and you get gusts of 30, 40 miles an hour and it's 105, 110.
But we're in 3-figure heat.
Yeah.
We've got now the mask battle.
Yeah.
That has caused us to go back to phase 1.
Yes.
Not officially. I'm not going to have people correct me, but we're going back to phase 1.
Yeah. And in fact, the bars that don't serve food or have to close.
All bars.
All bars.
In or out of restaurants.
Yes.
Yes. Gyms are being assessed in the next 3 days. Theaters are going to eat it anyway. And I think they're going to go, I'm thinking in the next 3 years, we're going to see maybe one chain left, of theaters, because who going to the movies, although wonderful, it's gone. It's people stream.
I mean, I can see, like, when you go back to, if you look at the Spanish flu, that it lasted for 2 years.
Yeah,
and they didn't have the medical technology that they have now. But it lasted 2 years, and then the virus kind of vanished.
Yeah.
What they don't know yet about this one, and I was reading where in there have been certain areas of, again, the virus is opportunistic, and it unfortunately it hits the poor more so than the people are well off, and they found areas in Queens where the 65% of the people tested for antibodies. They don't know if that means that they're free. They're not going to get it because their bodies have produced antibodies to it,
Right.
or if they can still get sick. They don't know that yet.
Right.
So that's why they're saying with this virus, because it's a new one, they don't know if the whole herd immunity thing is going to work.
Yeah.
But then when they get into the more affluent areas of Queens, they're finding antibodies at percentages down to about 18%. So again, with working clients, they're working during this. They're taking public transportation. The housing is such that they're in more crowded conditions. It's just going to spread.
I know. So you have the heat. You have this ridiculous, line drawn between the mask and the no mask.
Yeah.
You have now the bars are gone.
Yeah.
It's my opinion that the casino closure number 2 is coming. It's looming, because we are just a breath away from going back to phase 1. We have a governor that is hiding behind unexplainable statistics for unemployment payment, both for standard unemployment and for gig worker unemployment. Then we have essentially nothing to do. You can gamble, and you can go and eat
and walk around
and
get dehydrated.
And get dehydrated.
But at least with the bars closed, because alcohol helps, it promotes dehydration because it's a diuretic.
The next thing I know we're going to see in the news are the pools. The governor already said that he's putting a special eye on the pools.
Yeah.
And if you take Miami Beach and the Florida region to heart, he should.
Yeah.
Because that's where it starts.
Yeah. Now, the rules here are that you have to wear a mask at the pool. Once you're in the pool, I don't know, why don't you make him wear a snorkel? That's what I'm saying. Wear a snorkel in the pool, goddammit.
I agree. I vote for
everybody
that.
Wear a snorkel.
Check mark snorkel. And if you look at we in certain areas, Las Vegas has been. It's no longer. I can think of no industry where it's a leader right now. In certain industries, Las Vegas has been a leader. But for this, we are not leading the pack in any way. We are behind the 8 ball, absolutely in every area. Keeping in mind that if you look at major companies, John and I were talking about Disney in the pre-show, and Disney World just opened today, when we do the podcast today. And with all of their new rules and procedures in place. And one of the ones that made me laugh, and I think it affects here too, if you think, well, the rule is, not rule, but please avoid screaming. This is a Disney rule.
Yeah. And they had that at an amusement park in Japan. No screaming on the roller coaster.
No screaming. And I don't know, they didn't necessarily mention any ramifications of screaming. I think that's great. I prefer no screaming at all.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, that can be directly overlaid here in Vegas with like gambling. I mean, how many times do you walk by a craps table and people are screaming? Enjoy.
Yeah.
Or disgust.
Yeah.
But it's a huge problem here in Vegas.
Yeah. Now, here's something interesting is that in Japan, they started Major League, their Major League Baseball, their professional baseball league, Japan Baseball League. It opened a few weeks ago with no people in attendance, but they started to let people in this weekend. Now they're not allowing a lot in, and there's like 3 people per row. But the other thing is, if you've ever been to a Japanese baseball game or just seen one on TV, you know that there's chants that go on. Because, the teams do not hide the fact that really what they are is a glorified advertising. That, they called people familiar with the Tokyo Giants. They really aren't the Tokyo Giants. They're the Yomiuri Giants. Yomiuri is a newspaper.
Right.
So it's just like the New York Times Giants or Mets or whatever. It's because they're the owners of the team. They happen to play in Tokyo. Well, a lot of teams play in Tokyo. I think at one time they had like 5 teams played in Tokyo.
All right.
But so there was that. There was Yakult. They made the yogurt. That's why they're called the Swallows, right? Because the yogurt drink. I mean, this word association.
Sure.
Right? Swallows. Yeah, right. Seibu, which is a department store, Macy's. It's like Macy's. Yeah. So they had baseball teams. So they would go and they had their cheering sections of the fans that were either company employees or just fans of the store or whatever. They liked the team. And they would have their own chant, and there would be a guy leading the chant. And I've been to these games, and they're really interesting to watch, knowing that I go to the regular baseball games here. So it's interesting. But now they can go, but they can't chant. They can't do that. They just have to stand there and sit there like they're watching a movie. Be polite about it.
Yeah, and on another end of the world, if anybody has ever watched the show, it's on PBS, I think, here in the United States. Doc Martin, starring the actor, his name is Martin Clunes, extremely popular, based in a little tiny town in Cornwall. Apparently in Cornwall, half of the place loves the fact that the show is done there because it gives them notoriety and tourists.
Sure.
And the other half do not. In fact, they hung a giant. It's a port town.
Yeah.
Port Royal. I think it's Port Royal. And they hung a sign that said "Turn around, fuck off."
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think if we espouse that for just a little while, just everybody, draw the lines. I said that
on our last podcast when one of our listeners said, "When can I come to Vegas?" I said January.
Yes.
And even though this was before, because I knew it was just going to happen the way people were acting.
Yeah.
And it's it's like when somebody recovers from a surgery or an illness. An injury. Oh, hey, it's feeling a lot better. I'm going to go back to doing what I was doing before, and you're just going to hurt yourself again.
So okay. We always told ourselves that for the most part we wouldn't get into politics here, and I don't think this really is it can be. It most certainly is. But what do you think about Las Vegas and the masks? What do you think about the people? Because Las Vegas, much like every other city, and Nevada, like every other state, has this enormous contingent of people that say, I'm not going to kowtow to governmental control. Take your mask and shove it. What do you think Las Vegas is any worse or better than cities throughout the country? And what do you think of these people?
I think they're assholes. I think they need to be.
You're a mask supporter.
I am a mask supporter just because I don't want to wear one any more than anybody else.
Yeah.
But I go back to what do these people think of secondhand cigarette smoke? I know that if I'm a smoker, I'm not, but if I were, and in the old days or before the evidence was there, the tobacco companies knew that it was there, but it was hidden. That the fact that I could say I have the freedom to smoke and ruin my health, but I don't have the freedom to ruin your health. And you're breathing in my smoke is detrimental to your health. And it was at that point when that really became well known that we started to get the anti-smoking laws because of that. Because it's like, well, before then, it was just like, well, okay, well, we'll have the smokers over there. We'll segregate them. If you don't, actually, they had a non-smoking section. And then that kind of evolved into a smoking section because the non-smoking section was a small one. If you're going to be, if you don't want to be around smoke, you can sit over there. And then that evolved into, if you want to smoke, you can sit over there. 2, if you want to smoke, there's the parking lot. And then not only that, but get in your car and smoke. So it's kind of the same thing because you could be infected and not have symptoms. But the fact that you talk loud or you shouted or you just sneeze suddenly could infect other people. And who could become more vulnerable to it. So you have a social obligation to wear that. Now, if you don't want to wear a mask, then stay home and don't go out.
Now, are you surprised by people's reaction in Las Vegas to the masks?
I'm only surprised because, you have somebody in the White House who is just, they don't seem to understand he's not so much a president as he is a cult leader. I mean, when I looked at somebody like David Koresh, cult leader, I thought, wow, what a scam this guy had. Hey, sir, I'd like to fuck your 15-year-old daughter. Most guys are going to haul off and punch this guy. But this guy's got such a scam going that it is, okay, well, you want my wife too? I mean, he found people to do this, right? Yeah. Well, hey, I mean, whatever he was preaching, he was a cult leader. And Trump is the same way in a lot of ways. Oh, don't believe that. He always wants to, and there is a long history, unfortunately, in this country of anti-intellectual followings and people not believing in science and questioning it only because it undermines what they want to believe. They want to believe the Bible is history, because that's part of their belief system. If they find out that it isn't, then they have to change everything. They have to alter their worldview, and they just don't want to accept the fact that it's metaphoric. It's a metaphorical book, and it's not a historical book, or a book of history, I should say, not historical.
Do you see specifically Las Vegas, specifically Disneyland, specifically Disney World, and things of that, in that area, large Orlando, LA, Anaheim, Vegas? Do you see the mask being here counted by years?
Well, it's going to, if you look at other countries that have started to open their borders, like in Europe, where it was hit hard, like it was, but not to the extent it was here, because people followed rules. And because they did that, again, theoretically, if everybody stayed in and did not leave the house for any reason at all, in the early part of this, back in February, if this had been done, don't leave for any reason. Stay there. We see you on the street, you're going to be arrested or fined.
Right.
Stay home. If you need to go to the store, we'll have it delivered. Those are the only people who are allowed out. We could have dealt with this in a couple of weeks because of just the nature of the virus.
Right.
It needs a host in order to travel. It's not alive like a bacteria. It needs a host to reproduce. And it does that by human contact. So if you avoid that contact somehow, if you could, again, theoretically, then it's just going to die out. It's just those, even if the people all died who were infected, then they can't infect anybody else. So theoretically, and if they recovered, and most people recover, then, and as long as they can't get reinfected or they're still not infectious, it'll die up. But they didn't do that. So, it's just kind of spooky in a way that it took 99 days in the U.S. to go from 0 to 1 million positive cases. It took 46 days to go from 1 million to 2 million.
Right.
And I guess the irony, or it was lost on the writer in the article, 28 days to go from 2 million to 3 days. So he said 28 days later. I thought, I think there was a movie about that. Kind of reminds me of something.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. 28 days later, we're at 3 million.
Right.
And if that continues, in 2 weeks, we'll be at 4 million.
Right.
All right. So that 3 million is 1% of our population.
Yeah, without question. Without question.
So they're not following guidelines, and this is what happens. I mean, the ones that it would have been worse if they didn't have any lockdown.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, with as much trouble as there is on the wind right now, with the BLM and the virus and the politics that are going soon to be happening. I'm very surprised, even with all of that, the derisiveness that we deal with every single day on every subject. I am sincerely surprised about the mask thing.
Yeah.
It's all we have.
Yeah.
It's all we've got two things: stay away from people, and if you can't, wear the mask. And I cannot understand an individual my age or younger or older thinking that is a level of governmental control. Yeah.
And again, it gets back to the asshole in the White House who has to politicize everything, because he needs to, you have to understand, he is by every definition of the term is a sociopath. He is so narcissistic, and this goes beyond politics. I mean, I don't agree with the guy politically, but he's just so narcissistic that he cares about nobody but himself. That's the whole thing. Do you understand? He doesn't give a shit about you. He cares about getting reelected, and he knows the way to do that is to galvanize and to get his supporters all enthused and in a lather. So he's going to do that. He's going to find something, whether it's BLM. Okay, I'm going to show them how strong I am, because again, his voters are overwhelmingly white and have racist views in a lot of cases, because we saw this with the way he targeted Hispanics. So now it's like, let's go after Black Lives Matter because it's a race issue. They're tearing down, they want to tear down Confederate statues. Fine, I don't care. I'm not from the South. But, again, he's just trying to galvanize his voters on anything, and he doesn't care. He wants the job numbers to be good. So everybody get back to work. I don't care if it puts you in danger of being sick and dying. I don't care because I only care about Donald J. Trump.
Well, if back to work, though, is the platform on which he rests, he's going to lose Las Vegas. He's going to lose Nevada.
Yeah.
Nevada won't be red come November.
No.
Because,
And the thing is, I don't blame. I mean, politically, they could say, look, the unemployment rate's 25%. But I say, look, it wasn't that guy's fault, man. This is a once in a century occurrence. It's happened before. It shouldn't have surprised anybody. And it happened. It's shitty. But we can all deal with it and say, you know what, it wasn't his fault. And if he told us all to stay home, and we got a lot of money, we're the richest country in the world, we got plenty of money, everybody stay home, I'll pay you to stay home. If you're out, we're going to fine you. But stay home for the next 2 or 3 months. And I know it might be tough, you're going to get stir crazy, but you're just going to have to suck it up. This is another war effort. Hey, you're going to have to do without.
Sure.
I can't imagine people back of course, I wasn't around then in World War II time when they had to ration things out. And you can't have that. And you have to have the lights out at night so they can't see and bomb us. And people cooperated. Oh, they can't tell me to turn my lights off. Right? I want to do this. No. Y'all have to pull together.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's our political.
That's our political.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna bring it back to Vegas. I got a question that people ask me all the time. I think we answered a little bit of it last show. Buffets, are they going the way of the dinosaur?
Well, they're changing. We know that the Wynn opened their buffet. Now, you had to have a reservation.
Yes.
Which was not a bad idea anyway, because if you've been to a buffet, you often know you have to wait in line.
Oh, yeah.
In the old days, by the old days, I mean like 1990s and into 2000, the big buffet was actually not on the Strip. It was at the Rio.
Yeah.
The Rio Seafood
Buffet.
And it opened at, I think, 4 o'clock, 5, whatever. But people would line up. You always had to wait an hour. Even if you were the first one in the door, it meant that you got there an hour before they opened.
Yes.
And you stood there and you waited. What you didn't want to do is there was a certain point where you didn't want to be the one waiting in line and they let everybody in and then it's full and you got to wait for somebody to leave.
Right.
Right. You didn't want to be one of them. So you wanted to be there.
Yeah.
For
the Alaskan crab legs.
Yes.
Crab legs.
Crab legs. And it was $25 back then. And now, of course, the buffets are more like $50.
Right.
But now you need a reservation and they bring the food to you.
Do you think, though, that reservations and line monitoring and everything else is going to be enough at the buffet?
Well, it's like we talked in the pre-show about Disney World opening, and you can control people's behavior in that environment.
Yes,
but you can't control their behavior outside of that environment.
Yeah.
So even if you say, well, we're going to we're going to stop the spread if we can, you probably can't eliminate it. And then what people do when they get out, how they behave is, I don't, because of something like this, it takes time.
Yeah.
So it takes a couple of weeks before you start to see the repercussions of it. So we'll have to see. I mean, the thing that disturbs me about Disney World opening isn't so much that they opened, it's that where they are, because they're in Florida.
Yeah.
And if people are going there on vacation, Disney World, we're going to go there because, hey, they have all these precautions. But again, like I said, what goes on outside Disney World, in the hotel you're staying at, because you may not be in one of the Disney World hotels,
right,
or at the airport or whatever, if you drove there and you're along the route, you could get infected there.
Sure.
So even though you went on a trip to Disney World and got infected, you can't say that maybe you didn't get infected at Disney World, but nevertheless, it was that trip. So kind of same thing here. I was saying, you got to wait till January.
Yeah, it's tough for me to say that, but definitely. Now, what do you think about the resistance that businesses are having to the bar ruling that have a bar in them, but it isn't necessarily the primary source of income for that business? Obviously the comedy club.
Yeah.
Now they can function without the bar. They can have the entertainers come and they can enjoy that. But what do you think about the resistance that businesses they're saying we're not a bar, but we have a bar?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that rule should be sweeping, or do you think it should be case for case?
I guess it should be case for case.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on how large the bar is, how crowded it gets.
Yeah.
Those are the factors I think that probably play a bigger role. If it's your old, your typical, not here in Las Vegas, but I remember the neighborhood Irish bar or whatever, you'd go in there and there's the same three people,
Mm-hmm.
and you can sit there those places. Those places are probably okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into a place, I'm talking about when I lived in San Francisco back in the 80s, there was a place on Union Street.
Mm-hmm.
There was Perry's. Perry's was always bumper to bumper, all right? I mean, people were packed in there like a train in Japan.
Sure.
And it was a pickup bar. And there was another one, there was Lord Jim's. It wasn't on Union Street, but it was out there. It was the same thing. Those type of bars would be outright dangerous in this type of a pandemic. Whereas some of the little neighborhood bars that cater to the locals that just kind of sit there and cry over their beer and don't say very much, to the local drunk.
Yeah.
Those places probably are okay, but
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think it has to be and there's really not much. Again, the business wants money, so they're going to be bringing people in. Well, that guy's not wearing a mask. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. So what? It's just one guy.
Now, what do you think about? Now, this isn't Las Vegas specific, but what do you think about our governor, along with a whole bunch of other announcements that made no sense? He published. It was his version of shaming, I guess, because we're big on that nowadays.
Yeah.
He published the businesses that were being fined for not adhering to the mask policy. 3 of which, or whom, were Walmarts.
Huh.
Yeah. Now, do you think Walmart should be punished financially or otherwise?
Whatever.
You
Just for being Walmart. They should just be punished for being Walmart.
Just the Waltons.
Yes.
That's
Put them
right.
in jail.
Okay.
Imprison them. During the revolution, they're going to swing. They
Yes.
are. Any revolution,
Okay.
we eat the rich.
Let's say it's not the top tier of the people.
Yeah.
But do you think the business should be fined
Yes.
for the individuals?
Yes.
You do.
Yep.
Do you think
Because management, it's the same thing. If
Yeah.
we worked at the Venetian
Mhm.
and we did something, we spit at the guest. I know how many times we thought about it. It was okay for them to spit at us, right?
Yes.
But think about if you
it
just hauled
was.
off and smacked one of I had to hit the guy. He was just, yes, I just said it. I said it. If one more person asked me what shows are playing, I was going to kick him in the nuts.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with
Yeah.
you on that. And on that, yeah. We
Yes.
told the line.
Yes,
And it was very
yes,
difficult.
yeah. And it's up to management then to tell their people how to behave.
yeah.
I mean, I go through the sexual harassment training, even, every 2 years, it's a requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I work off site
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not really around people, there are times when I am. So, but what they also say is, even if it's a vendor that
Right.
you notice doing this, you're obligated to say something.
Right.
So if we're saying that I'm not going to wear, then you're not going to wear a mask. You're going to have to stay home.
Right.
It's same thing. Like if we showed up to work, I'm not going to wear my uniform today. I'm just going to wear jeans. I'm more comfortable like this.
That's right.
No.
Now, here's a big one.
Yeah.
That people love to argue.
Oh, and also about public. That's great that they because I want to know. In the same way, I also want to know about dirty dining. Right? There used to be
that's a tough one, isn't it? Though
in
Yeah.
Las Vegas, they would tell you the restaurants that got that were closed or close to closing because they were filthy.
Did you ever have a restaurant that you liked that got rated badly?
Well, I was surprised, because some of them were like were at the Paris, and you
Right.
realize,
Yeah.
the chef was smoking. What do you expect? He's French,
right.
right? He's smoking over the food, whatever. But I would often keep track of that. If I had a real asshole guest that was really nasty, and I want to go, "Yeah." Okay, go to this restaurant. Be sure to order this, whatever it was that was spoiled. you know.
So here's the big one. Here's the one that people get most upset about, especially during the summer here in Vegas. So pools open or closed right now?
I think there's a couple of things you know about spreading coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
One is it's far more likely to be spread indoors.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
Yeah.
then they know that the virus itself is a wimp when it comes to heat this time of year.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hot. I would also think being in the water, they're always telling you to wash your hands.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
Granted, there's no soap in the water, but there's chlorine and they know that. I mean, the soap really makes the virus itself, because it's really just random DNA and RNA fall apart, right? The protein that holds it, that's what soap does. It's the same thing why you use soap when you wash dishes, right? It
Right.
loosens, it makes things fall apart. So you don't have that in the water, but nevertheless, you're in the water and there's chlorine in there, and I don't think, as far as I know, that it survives in that environment. So I would think that that's okay. Again, social distancing, you can't have everybody crowded around. And I went to a pool once in Japan, and Japan pools are awful because, for one thing, they're only 3 feet deep.
Oh, okay.
All of them. I mean, there's
Is
no
that
deep end. There is 3 feet deep, and that's it.
Is that an insurance thing?
I guess so.
Yeah.
They don't want, because they have kids in there, and then you're standing there and you can't swim, because you have to be vertical.
Uh-huh.
Depending on the pool, of course, but you have to be vertical. If you think about swimming, you're just inviting yourself to get kicked in the face.
Right.
Unless you want that, right? I really want some 7-year-old kid to kick me in the face.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the pool should be open. And they're outdoors. As long as they're outdoors, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think?
All right. I think they're impossible to police, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And I think that
But wear a snorkel.
Snorkels are good. Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're in the pool, you got to be under the water. Period. That's it. You know, you can separate tanning chairs.
Yeah.
And tanning areas.
Yep.
And don't offer food. Obviously, the bars are closed.
Yep.
And you got to be under the water.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And that's probably a good health thing anyway, because as we mentioned about heat stroke, and when you're not used to it, people drink and that really dehydrates them. They fall asleep in the sun, and oh shit, I didn't put on you got to put on sunscreen about every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
In this extreme, it's not just the heat, of course, it's just sunshine.
If I was one of the bosses in town, and the bar thing came across, and they said, all right, all bars, no matter what, all bars, I would have really got the bean counters on, all right, how much is it costing me to have in this damn pool open?
Yeah.
Is it and cross-reference that against the number of people they hope to then transfer into the casino and lose some dollars, which is basically
that's all you can do here.
Yeah, any restaurant, pool, movie theater, bowling alley, everything else, it's all geared to get you back gaming. And if they came back and said, you'll make maybe a couple of bucks, I'd be like, close the pools. Close it. I don't need it, because I don't need the marketing hassle. I don't need the PR. I don't need the troubles. And you know what? Why not be part of the solution? So I say no.
Yeah, I guess it would depend also on the hotel. I mean, they opened the Mandalay Bay just last week, right?
Yeah.
They're about July 1st, because it was scheduled to open. They've done that for weeks.
Right.
And they're known for the pool. They're known for the wave pool and everything like that. I think it would be harder for them to close and say the Venetian, which really is, it has a really nice pool, but it's not what people go there for.
Okay. Yeah.
It's okay. It's a nice pool. I mean,
it's a resort pool.
It's a resort pool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fabulous pool anywhere else. I mean, outside of Las Vegas.
Exactly.
But on the Strip, it's just like, it's serviceable.
Yeah.
You remember when they closed it a couple times? I think once before, when we first opened, because it wasn't ready, and then when Adelson was having a party or something, and he closed it because it'd only be for his guests, and we had people pissing and growling, but we gave them a pool pass to the Caesars. Now, I understand you don't want to have to go across the street and up the block to go to the swimming pool in your hotel, but nevertheless, that's a better pool.
Right. Right.
That was a nicer pool. And you say, well, they got a shuttle bus goes over there. I know. What do you want me to say? The owner, he owns a building. He can do what the hell he wants. He doesn't want you in his pool because he's got his own party going on.
I remember they closed it one time. The water went bad.
Yeah.
Not like dangerous bad, but I mean,
Yeah.
it
I think they should have done that with the canal, because that's probably more realistic.
right.
Have dead rats floating around in there and driftwood.
I've been to Venice,
Yeah.
and I have to tell you, the complaints that I heard prior to going to Venice were unfounded. It did not smell.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't been there.
Mosquitoes were an issue when I went. You can go to us on a season where it. No rats or dead bodies. It's not like Lake Mead.
Yeah.
But
Dead mafioso floating by.
it was not clean, but I'm told that with all the trouble now and the fact that all the tourists and nasty Americans aren't there, it's clear as a bell.
Yeah, that's great.
And maybe that's a good thing. Okay, so yes, pool, no pool.
Yeah.
We're split decision there.
Yeah.
Bars, I don't know that I care, but I think bars are a major offender, so I'm a yes for bars. Buffets, I'm kind of nostalgic about buffets. I find them convenient, but the minute a child is infused into that scenario, I'm like, no buffets. So I'm pretty much no across the board. What do you think the virus in the casinos, in the hotels, in the resorts, in all of the entertainment facilities, what do you think the virus is going to destroy and remove? What do you think is never going to come back because of coronavirus in Vegas? Maybe it's a procedure. Yeah. Maybe it's a whatever. What do you think is never, ever going to come back?
Well, I think it's too early to tell, just because if they're when they come with the vaccine, right?
What has the potential of not coming back?
I can't think of any. I mean, because here's the one thing it still amazes me is people's amnesia for history, even recent past. I mean, I know you can find some moron. I know the Daily Show, they had a guy complaining, because Obama was asleep on 9/11 and, he wasn't doing his job. And I thought, well, you weren't president.
Right.
How people do that with a lot of things that they don't remember, and they should.
Yeah.
Because the media always either glosses things over. Hey, think about vaping. I was just thinking about that this morning. Remember, that was all in the news right before coronavirus. Does that mean all the cases have vanished and there's no more issues with vaping? But no, it's just been replaced by something new, and that becomes a public consciousness. Right. So I wonder, and I don't know this. I'd like to see what happened in 1918 after Spanish flu. At what point did people stop, wearing masks or doing things and going back to normal? Mm-hmm. Same thing after World War II. Hey, I mean, there it's more clear cut. The war's over. We can turn our lights back on, and we can start consuming things again. Mm-hmm. But there will come a time in 4 or 5 years, I think, where this will kind of be a kind of a memory for a lot of people. And then as younger people grow up, like with 9/11, who don't know it. It's just history to them.
Oh, for sure. No, this is going down in the annals of history.
Yeah, so I think everything will come back. I mean, there will always be the specter of. I mean, I think people will be more cautious. And a lot of think about sex, right? I mean, all the
I do all the time.
Yes, the 60s, the free love and everything, and then there's AIDS, and people change their habit, and in some ways. I think that, I see a correlation there, and I think there's a relationship there more than just a correlation of the rise of places like Starbucks. Mm-hmm. People used to drink. That's where you used to go. I was mentioning places like Perry's and Lord Jim's in San Francisco because it was a meat market. You went there to pick up people. Mm-hmm. Women there looking for guys, guys looking for girls. That's where you went. You went to one of those meat markets.
Right.
And then after that, it was just like, well, if I get drunk, I kind of don't, I don't act rationally, or I make bad choices. Right. So then people started drinking coffee. And that was safer. You don't invite someone out for a drink, and you invite them out for coffee, because at least now it's you're more in control of your inhibitions there, right? So that kind of changed. But now people have gone back to bars, and that whole idea of people scouting for each other and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, that hasn't changed. People were cautious. Right. But that hasn't changed. So I think maybe, and this is far less, I think, scary in a lot of ways because it's less deadly. Yeah. And it's, of course, it's far more prevalent because we're looking at over 3 million cases we're only in July, and this didn't really hit until February. So it's only been a few months. that most people recover. And so I kind of think over time things will relax. In the same way people go, I'm 40 pounds overweight. I got to go on a diet, and they start working out and they start to look great, and then they let it go to hell. Right? Oh, yeah, I used to do that. I lost all this. Then what happened? Path of least resistance.
Yeah.
What do you think? Do you think things are never going to come back?
Well, firstly, I agree about the amnesia of history, but conveniently we're erasing all of it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I think there is something that is going to be changed forever if it comes back at all, and I think it is what Las Vegas is known for. We're one of the top 3 in the country, if not the world. Is the event?
The
event or the event process, and I think there are individuals in the event industry that are going to find themselves no longer needed, because if events do make it back, they are going to be I think inextricably altered, and not fun in the beginning. It's just going to be like back in the old days, where the accountants got together for a couple of days on the weekend, talked about what's coming up, and then had a drink at a bar and went home. There's now I think the lavish events. And this is unfortunate. I'm not happy about this because it affects part of my industry directly. But I think that the large, lavish productions and everybody involved in those I think it's going to go the way of the dinosaur. I think it's there. Las Vegas in all areas, but especially events, has to observe a level of moderation. And I think humans somehow are going to have to observe a level of moderation, because that's one of the reasons why we're having so much trouble is we can't moderate ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that I can't commit to it's not ever coming back, but the event, that happens in Las Vegas, I think it is going to be shortened and shrunken, and it's going to be really not fun for a while. We are going to turn into a business level destination where we have a few meetings here and there, and those meetings that can be safely presented. There's going to be no Elvis and no showgirls and no giant buffets and ice sculptures and people milling around. It's the milling around that's the problem. It's the groups of people that are a problem. And I speak from absolute experience. Events fly right in the face of our coronavirus procedures now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's very scary for people that build their lives.
What's World of Concrete going to do? 110,000 people come from World of Concrete.
Look at that. CES and SEMA, and oh my gosh.
And a lot of it will go. I was supposed to. One of the nice things about coronavirus. One of the nice things for me.
I know.
Of course, I've always worked from home. Well, I wouldn't say I've always, but since 2005, I've worked from home. So this is going on 15 years. So for me, it was business as usual.
Yeah.
I was supposed to take 2 trips to Phoenix, and no offense to Phoenix, but I'd rather stay home.
You can offend Phoenix.
Yeah, I can offend Phoenix. Yeah. I don't want to go down there.
Mom.
And like I said, I gotta I gotta wear a shirt with those things on it. Those, what do you call them, the buttons, and I gotta wear shoes. Right. I gotta wear socks.
Yeah.
And
break out the bolo tie.
Yeah. I can't wear a t-shirt. Shit. Not even my Slipknot t-shirt. Again, I gotta leave all that. But anyhow, so I got to do that virtually.
Uh-huh.
And I have to do meetings next week in Texas, virtually. So thank God I don't have to be there.
Right.
And they work fine.
Yeah.
The one thing, and I think the one next week I'm a little less enthused about because we have to use the video camera.
Mm-hmm.
On the one hand, being a facilitator, it's helpful. I get to see people.
Yeah.
I get to see if they're paying attention or if they're sleeping. Like I do, like when I was a teacher, hey, is the class engaged? Are they losing focus? Is this time to end this and do something else? I really can't tell unless I'm looking at somebody, right? So that changes, and I can see a lot of businesses doing that. I can even see some conferences being virtual.
Yes.
I know it's not going to be any fun for a lot. I mean, that's the nice thing about Las Vegas. What they offer fun. So you go to your boring business meetings and whatever in the daytime, and then when it's over, you got all kinds of things you can do. And you don't even have to leave the hotel, right? They got 16 restaurants in the Venetian. And I find that when I do these trips, it's just like, oh shit, where are we gonna have dinner tonight? Well, there's the Outback next door. Otherwise, we're gonna have to get in the rent-a-car and drive somewhere.
Right.
Well, okay, we can go to the Outback. And I always, since I don't eat meat, I mean, what am I gonna have? Well, I can always order a salad or something. We eat there every day. They know us on a first name basis because that's the only place we can go to.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what Las Vegas offered people. And so there was fun.
Yeah.
In the same way with movies. Yeah, you can stream movies. Hey, you don't have to go to the theater, but it's so much nicer. I mean, for people like to go out and watch it on the big screen. And there's when I'm watching a movie in the theater, I'll watch the whole movie and forget what time it is.
Right.
Right. So, Jesus, oh God, it's already been 2 hours. If I'm home watching it, every 20 minutes, it's just like, I'm going to pause it. I got to go do something.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes me 4 or 5 days to watch a movie that's over 2 hours, just because other things come up. Right. I got to do something else just because I have too many distractions.
Right.
Right. It's just not as much fun or the bonding that goes on. You get to talk about the movie afterwards.
Yeah.
Because they thought the movie theater was going to go by the wayside in the 80s once they had VHS and a home box office.
Yeah.
And it really made a boom.
Yeah.
It was the opposite
It
because people who had stopped going to the movies started watching them on TV and realizing, hey, I like that actor or that actress and or that director. And, oh, he's got a new one out. I don't want to wait a year for it to come out on HBO or 6 months or 8 months for it to come on. I want to go see it now. So then we became popular again.
Yeah. Now, though, I think we might be alive and see the demise of the theater industry as we know it. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Last question.
Yeah.
Come to Vegas now or not?
No. Stay home. Again, for a couple of reasons. One is your health.
Yeah.
And I even say that when I see the anti-mask people on, they say, oh, fuck them, let them die. And I thought, no, I don't really think that way because, there are people probably dependent on them. Yeah. They probably have kids. They're nice kids. And they can't help it if their parents are idiots.
So when? Are we still in January?
I'm still going to hold into January. And we'll see. We'll see how things go.
Okay. It's cold in January.
Yeah, well, for us it's cold. I mean, it's not like Minnesota cold.
That's true. That's very true.
So it gets into the 60s.
Okay.
That's Fahrenheit, folks. Right. It's in the teens in centigrade, and then it does get down to 0 overnight if you're out drunk. You won't feel anything, but 0 centigrade, that is. It gets down into the 30s.
So I say come to Vegas now only if you're going to enjoy our grand and wonderful state parks.
Oh, yes.
You can be out there and enjoy all the wonderful things we have outside of these couple square miles. Let us recover. Let the country recover. But yeah, come out and see Red Rock, Valley of Fire, Mount Charleston. Come out and see that. But otherwise, yeah, I agree. I don't know about January though.
Yeah, I just use that. Basically, what I was saying is 2021.
Can you imagine?
Maybe even in the spring.
Las Vegas missing a New Year's. Can you imagine that? I don't know. I mean, we're inching, but still inching closer to that time frame.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're already in middle of July thereabouts, so the year's more than half over.
And I know the people with whom I work and for whom I work start planning now. For New Year's. Well,
you think about it, since this coronavirus really started, which was February. Now, we didn't have the lockdown until March, but really you started hearing about it, and the first cases started showing up in February. That's been 5 months.
Yeah.
Fast forward 5 months from now, and you're 2 weeks from Christmas.
Right.
So or New Year's, really. So we're looking at being that's coming up.
Yeah.
So, and it'll be another flu season.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully, like I said, things will. And that's the other thing is I don't go there when. It's the same thing when people ask me, should I go even before? When is a good time to go? They want to go when it's not crowded. Mm-hmm. But the downside to that is that's when a lot of the shows go on hiatus because they know that they're just, they're not. That's a good time for them to take off.
Right.
So they come here and they would piss and growl at us. in December. What shows are playing? Well, no, that one's dark. That one's on vacation. They'll be back. What about this one? Well, what's playing? Well, you have Jubilee and Follies Bergère and Dr. Naughty.
Yeah.
That's about it. Oh, I don't want to see those. Well, then what can I tell you? Nobody told me when I made the reservation. Did you ask?
Right.
Did you ask? And
well,
Tom Jones. Tom Jones will be.
Oh, Tom. Well, I know that our listeners, I get a few people saying, giving us, kind of grief about the what I feel is the truth that we speak. Is it negative? Yes, but it's inherently negative.
Yeah.
We're not being negative to be negative. We have, I assure everyone that listens to our show, all of our fans, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate each of you. But I assure you that we, and I think I can speak for John, have the greatest respect for this town. And worry about our town and worry about our function and our position in this town. And what we talk about is I think healthy. It's pardon the pun. I think these types of discussions are healthy. I mean, we want it to open. I want the bars to be open.
Yeah.
I'm not a drinker. I don't go to bars, but I want the bars to be open
for people to come here.
Yeah. And I want all of our rides and shows and restaurants and all the silly shit that we offer. I want it all to be open.
Yeah.
And I want all the staff to be back.
Yeah.
But
and the hotel's full.
But I have to say, in a strong way, we're not ready.
Yeah.
And we're not ready we're definitely not ready in general, but we're certainly not ready if we have a contingent of individuals that are continually going to risk our town. And we do. Every city does. And I don't know why. It's logical. It's not political. And I want Vegas to come back to a level to come to fruition. And we have a brand new tree that's going to, bloom, I think, and we're going to have all new fruit to offer. And I'm excited about it. So we'll see.
You know what I hope doesn't come back? That they started to end now are resort fees.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. And parking. Parking's free again.
Yes. Oh,
yes.
Well, yeah, because nobody's parking.
Yeah, nobody's parking.
And I know we talked about it briefly, but what the COVID surcharges? I think did we talk about that? Maybe I didn't. What do you think about it? That charging extra money for all the efforts that restaurants have made.
No. That's not right. That's
I agree.
Not right. Now I heard something, a rumor that I didn't like. That was disturbing. That I heard that the MGM, right? They own so many of the hotels. They are
sort of.
Yeah, sort of. Now that's
they've
right.
Leveraged them out.
Yes, they've leveraged. In fact, they've leveraged the mother company.
Yes.
But they are thinking of raising, and by that I mean tearing down.
Yes.
The Luxor.
Yes.
And I
have a theory why.
Okay. And part of it is that that the whole idea of the emulating a famous place like we saw with Bellagio, the place itself wasn't that so famous, but Venice and Paris, and there were other ones that never came up. Right, they were gonna have a San Francisco themed one. We mentioned that, and with all of these themes ones that's kind of now passé and kind of cheesy. So they want to rebrand it. So it's easier to say Monte Carlo. For example, it's just a building, and you could probably do it with Mandalay Bay because it's just a big gold building. But there's no getting around the Luxor. It's a pyramid, but it's so distinctive.
I know.
And maybe as a hotel to stay in, I never stayed there. It's not so great, but it's interesting. It's a cool building. It probably looks neat, kind of from the outside. I don't want to see it torn down. The castle, go ahead. The Luxor,
yeah,
and I understand it was supposed to be for kids at that time, and it looks kind of cool. There's the middle. Castle.
Yeah, kids are out now. Kids are passé.
And kids are passé. And the thing is, even for kids, it's a disappointment because they see the big castle. What's on in there? And they don't have anything.
And then even the dragon's gone.
Even the dragon's gone. Yeah.
If people didn't know that there was an animatronic dragon that came
dull.
out of the lake.
It was lame.
Yeah, it was pretty lame.
It was pretty lame.
So I have a theory about the Luxor. I agree with you. I don't want him to tear it down. It is a beacon in the night sky of Las Vegas by which you get here.
It is the ultimate of the of the car lot. Used to have those lights in the sky.
Yeah, you see it, especially if you're a frequent driver from Phoenix to here, and that horrifying drive you have to make.
Yeah.
The light, there it is.
There it is, and all they need to do is make a Batman. That's right. Silhouette in there. That would be really cool.
So very nostalgic. I have been in there. I've been in the rooms. It has the inclinators, the elevators that go diagonally.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And had one of the coolest shows ever called Winds of the Gods, and it's no longer there. But I have a theory.
Okay.
I think somewhere in the dark shadows of the NFL and Las Vegas, somewhere in an office deep within the bowels of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That Mark Davis.
Oh, well, I think he gets his hair done by the same guy who does Trump's hair.
Right. Mark Davis has arranged a parking structure for the stadium there.
Oh, I see.
Now,
it's not even on the same side of the freeway, though.
It doesn't matter. Well, there's no parking.
Yeah.
There's no parking.
Well,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
And the thing is that, I didn't want the Raiders to move here in the first place. And not just the Raiders, any team.
Yeah.
You got this big stadium now, and they're going to play 8 regular season games a year. That's it, 8, plus a couple of preseason games.
Uh-huh.
If they make the playoffs, you're going to look at 1 or 2 possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we may have the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter. We get more people come to the Super Bowl here than go to the Super Bowl site because they can gamble here.
Yeah.
So maybe a few more people will show up for the game if it's played here. Yeah, you're gonna get some of the stadium shows. I mean, Rammstein was supposed to go on a tour, and they weren't coming to Las Vegas this time because they were doing all stadiums. We don't have a stadium.
Right.
Now we do. They could have gotten Rammstein, but it's going to sit empty most of the time. There's going to be no need for a parking lot, and then it's such a nice location. If it were the Mandalay Bay, I like Mandalay Bay. I'm just saying where the location. It's kind of the last hotel. You can make that into a parking lot, and maybe it's just like, well, you just kind of cut off an end of the strip there at the end, but don't take the one kind of there. It's a nice location.
It won't be Mandalay because they just spent close to 8 figures on their convention extension.
Yeah.
Which is really terrible considering. Whoops. I'm saying it's parking.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going to go with the parking card for a while. So, well, thanks, John.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We wish we had better news.
I know. I wish I do.
When I first went to Japan in the 80s and in the wintertime, they always wear masks. No, they wear them in the wintertime because it's cold season. And it's not everybody. It's people who are sick because they want to spread the germs to somebody else. When I saw it, I said, no, man, there's no way in the world they're going to me to wear a mask. They look ridiculous.
Yeah.
And they did. You said, why don't you put a smile face on it or something? We laughed at it. I took pictures of it. Look at this. They wear these masks over there. Bought one and bring it home as a joke.
Right.
And now I look at it and I say, well, the science now is saying that, you could, you need to wear one. So I wear one.
Well, what's real. Yes, I'm sorry to bring bad news, or at least, give the bad news that I think is there. But I think what is exciting is the new levels of marketing and public relations that Las Vegas is going to have to adopt. I think that's going to be fascinating to watch. And we're definitely going to be able to talk about that soon. Because if they don't start marketing themselves, we are in trouble.
Yeah.
I hope everyone, enjoys the conversation, sort of the reality of what's going on here. Yes, people are coming and they're having fun and gaming and eating. But it's a very fluid thing here in Las Vegas. So be careful, wear your mask. And do the right things. Come here, enjoy our national parks, and enjoy all the wonderful natural things that Vegas has to offer in the surrounding areas. But if you like the episode, hit that like button. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to us on any of the formats. And if you have any questions, or if you want to join the conversation that we had today, or any of the conversations, you can send your questions through all of the formats, all of the social media, and the podbaydorlv@gmail.com. But for John, this is Jamey, and we will see you next show.